Let the suspense build. Because today... Yes, everything worked. Today is episode 2. It's Saturday, September 21st, 2013. And today we're going to talk a little bit about macro basics. We're going to look at certain things that you should watch out for. We're going to look at the basics for all 3 races. I'm actually going to start with the Protoss today, and then we're going to talk to a Terran perspective. Then we're going to look at Zerg finally at the end of it. So it's going to be another short episode today. About 30 minutes is what I'm aiming for. The stream's starting a little bit, a couple minutes behind today because I was letting one of the game buffer out. I've lost the glasses. I'm going with the contacts here. It's actually kind of nice because I can read my screens, and I'm super comfortable with it. Couple of admin things to note. The website is under construction. I have a domain reserved. I'm not going to say which because it's currently posted out there somewhere, and I have not yet finished putting it together yet. So tried a couple of things online. It's not really working too well. Okay. I had to be very gentle with drinks. I'm very clumsy. So we're going to talk about macro basics. Oh, almost forgot. One last thing. There are 2 sets of tournaments going down. One is just a one-off tournament. The other is a series. So let me pull up the ad on day9.tv. So this is the Day 9 Tournament League Season 1 signups. This is being run by Faustus. I don't recall what his chat handle is. But he's doing something that it's closed out, but I will be casting some of the games later on. There's a whole bunch of people that have signed up for it. So you can just look for the Day Night Tournament League, and you can go ahead and look that up on the forums at day9.tv, and you should be able to see what's going on with that. Also going on next Saturday, the 28th, a Gold Platinum tournament for Among the Shadows. It's going to be number 4. This one's going to be themed. It's got some older maps in it. If you go to the actual tournament page, it's called the March on Core Hall Tournament. So we're looking at things like Antigua Shipyard, Daybreak, Core Hall City, which is actually a fun map. Core Hall Compound, Newkirk is going to be up there, and Metalopolis, which you can't really see. Darn. I hate it when I do that. Hold on. Yeah. Metalopolis. So far we've got a few people signed up. So you can go ahead and go to the website amongtheshadows.com, and you can click right here, tournaments, and it'll take you to this page. This one has a theme story, so you can go ahead and read that and kind of get in the mood, the mood for it. There we go. If you go to tournaments, tournament entry form, it's right there. Also, for those of you that are out there that want to get into casting or want to co-cast with me, you can fill out this caster entry form, and you can sign up, and the tournament admin will take a look at it, and if he likes what he sees, he'll go ahead and put you on there. So that being said, I believe that is all the admin stuff that I have to worry about. Ooh, a website, yeah. I can't wait for it to work either. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the first match that I have set up. It's between a good friend of mine and myself from last patch. But it gives us a chance to look at his particular sort of play style and what he does when he's in and doing all this fun. Ooh, wrong one. Let's try that overlay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get this one started. You'll notice that he's Protoss, I am Zerg. I like orange. I like yellow, actually, but you know how that goes. So a couple of things that we're going to look at in this is worker count to minerals, worker count to gas, what kind of strategies call for what timings on gas, and just a general, early game, what should you be looking for, late game, what you should be looking for, somewhere in the middle, how do you transition from one to the other. So one thing to note about Protoss, since we're going to go ahead and start talking about them first, is that the Protoss tend to want to get gas really, really early. Just from the few games that I've played as Protoss, I've noticed that getting gas early is essential. You can get if you get your Cyber Core out really quick, you can get a Sentry out really fast. Sentries cost gas. You need gas for Warp Gate. You need gas for Oracles. You need gas for any sort of Stargate tech, any sort of air tech. So getting your gases early, even if you don't fully populate it with 3, is still really, really helpful later on in the game. So here we see he's just building, 3 gates. He doesn't really have a play style. He doesn't really build orders. He just kind of figures out what he feels is going to work for him, and then goes with it. And in this particular matchup, he lost. Yeah, I'm not going to put a game up there of me losing. Are you kidding me? That's just bad manners on my part. So one thing you'll notice, he will eventually go to 22 out of 24 workers. But when you're looking at counts for the number of workers per base working minerals, and the number of workers for gas. So anytime you get a gas geyser up, you should want to have all 3 workers in there. If you're getting a gas geyser, that's saying I need, X number of gas. I didn't find my notes. I have a set of notes where I did all the math before. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Wait. I have math. I did all of this math before. If memory serves, I believe it's about 100 minerals per game minute, or 100 minerals or gas per game minute per trip. Per fully saturated. Yeah. So for gas, it's going to be about 100 for every gas that you get. So you can expect to see, 200 gas per minute from this guy. 200 gas per, well, not anymore, but 200 gas per minute from this guy. So I'm actually going to go back a little bit. Come on. And we're gonna sit here and watch this, and you'll see when he actually gets this fully saturated. I'm gonna pause it, and then we're gonna do some counts. 18 to 24, 19 to 24, 2 to 3. Oh, faster times 8. Why? Okay, so he had just pulled a single worker off to go do something as I'm pausing this here. So this is his main base. Okay, and we're going to ignore this Twilight Council, Forge, Cybernetics Core. We don't care about that. All we care about are these 3 buildings and these workers. So you'll notice he's got 2 Vespene geysers up, fully saturated. That's 3 in a piece. Total of 6 workers there. He's got 17 according to the little interface helper here, the 17 to 24. He had just pulled a single worker off to go do, I think, one of the gases, and he's replenishing it with a another worker, which, if I'm careful, come on, there you go. So he's at 18 and 24. For most people, this is actually a really, really good setup. 18 workers working minerals, 6 workers pulling gas out of both of your gas geysers is a really good setup for a fully saturated base that's not oversaturated. You can push this up to 24 mining minerals, but then you'll notice that you have workers that are idle for 1, maybe 2 seconds on each of the mineral nodes. And each of the mineral fields can take up to 3. But because they're at various distances away from your main base, your nexus, I find that having 2 on each mineral patch, which is 16, plus a couple more to just kind of fill the gaps on the longer ones, they will default. So this mineral patch here that's way further away from the nexus. Having 3 on this is good because there won't be any delay time. Having 3 on this one that's right next to it might be a bad idea just because of the fact that you're going to have a worker idle for a couple of seconds per trip. And idle workers are kind of useless to you. So this is his main base. This is natural that he just planted down and he's working on getting up. He does eventually try and get this fully saturated and doesn't succeed in this particular game. So general Protoss strategies. So early game, you are going to want to get a geyser early. Usually you'll see the first pylon go down, and at this point, when you hit the 10 worker mark, 9-10 workers, you'll either see a gateway go down first, which says I'm going for early aggression, or I'm going for an early armor, or an early army, or you'll see a Vespene geyser go down. The choice between gateway first, geyser first is just how fast do you want that first zealot out as compared to how fast do you want the first stalker or sentry out. Not a big deal. You'll see that the first gateway and the first geyser timings are completely interchangeable. If you look up a build order online, you'll see that they're like, you can either get gas now or you can get a gateway. The early gas is recommended. If you're going to be going with some sort of very aggressive warp gate technology, you'll want to get the gas and get it fully saturated before you pick up your gateway. When it comes to moving your probes into it, I've heard mixed opinions. Do you just grab 3 random probes and throw them in there, or do you actually grab 3 probes that aren't currently mining anything or that aren't currently carrying minerals, or do you have them drop it off and then run it in? For me, when I'm playing and I'm actually trying to beat somebody and I'm not just focusing on one specific aspect of my gameplay, I'll just grab 3, I'll just box 3, put them in there. If I box 2, then I'll just click on a third one and then put them in there as well. But I tend to ignore whether or not they are currently carrying minerals when I do it, because I'm just focused on, okay, my gas is done, send the workers in. That's how I play. I know some people are very, very particular. They want to catch the probes that have already dropped off their minerals or that haven't picked up minerals yet, and then move them into the gas so that nothing is wasted. Because if you do send workers into the Vespene geyser with minerals in hand, you'll lose those minerals forever. They've been subtracted from the mineral field already, and they have not been put into your bank. So it's a thing of choice. Ooh, sorry about that. Autofocus. Oh, okay, cool, awesome. Onoda just told me in chat, boxing works, and if you hit C by default, they'll drop it off on the way to the geyser. So there you go. Yeah. For those of you that don't play standard, the C for resource drop off is there. Return cargo. I play grid, so it's S, but that's the button that you're looking for right there. Hold on. That button right there. So you can box, right click, and then just hit C or S, or click that button if you're a clicker, which if you're trying to play competitively, I don't know why. But yeah, good tip, thanks. So moving on to the specific strategies when it comes to the... Oh, hello. It helps if I actually show you the button. The Buton. Who's got minerals? He's got minerals. That button. Return cargo. S. C. That button. You box them, you right click, you press your hotkey, and they'll return it and then go to the next destination. And now that he says that, I actually do remember doing that a couple times. Okay. So now we're going to talk about specific strategies. This will lead into decision making depending on what your scouts see. But from Protoss, from what I have seen, one early geyser, any option is available to them. They can still tech to air, they can go Colossus, they can go 4-gate rush, 4-gate all in. The one Vespene geyser just says, hello, I am playing Protoss. I need to get my gas a little bit earlier. 2 Vespene geysers with very few buildings up means, okay, I am going for gas-heavy units. So you get limited from you're not going to see a whole lot of zealots. You're probably going to see a lot of caster units. You might see air. So you're looking at Templar, High Templar specifically. You're looking at sentries, stalkers, any sort of air play. If you see these two Vespene Geysers up really early, and you see like a single gateway and a single cybernetics core, more than likely there is some sort of Stargate somewhere on the map, and you're looking for Oracle or straight to Void Ray or some sort of Phoenix play. And this is all with your early scout, the one that's supposed to sneak his way in before the 3 or 4 minute mark. So if you see 2 gas and you see workers mining from those 2 gas, you're looking for some sort of tech play, upgrades, straight to Colossus, lots of sentries, or air tech if you don't see a lot of production facilities out. If you scout and you see a second base already, then you know that there's something up. He's not going to have an army on the field. He is going for some sort of very late tech, some sort of timing push. I've seen a couple of Protoss build 2 bases, go 2 base straight into Colossus, and just pump out an army. Like an army magically appears by the 10-minute mark because they get the second base before they do pretty much anything else. I have seen one of the more popular ones is Forge First Fast Expand, where they build their first pylon at 9, they build their forge as soon as they can. I think you have to get it right after Gateway. But they drop a forge, and then as soon as the forge goes down, as soon as they get 400 minerals after that, they drop their expansion, then they fully saturate all of them. That's when you get Warp Gate research really, really quick. That's when you get big, massive death balls that just magically appear on the map somehow. We'll go into the specifics of that when I start talking about the Protoss build orders, when I go through their big video set. We'll look at how the Protoss player is able to magically produce an army. Like, you'll scout one time, there will be nothing there. You scout like 45 seconds later, and there's a standing army that just like melts your face. So, early game, you're very commonly going to see Protoss and Terran stay on 2 bases. Early to mid game, the most you'll ever see out of them is 2 bases, unless they're being hyper aggressive or they're being really greedy. And at that point, you're good to go. If you see them being really, really greedy and you have a big standing army, most of the time you can just crush them right away. So, with this particular build here, it's the 11-minute mark. This is about the right time for a Protoss to start fully saturating the natural. He's probably going to be looking to get a 3rd soon. So from a macro standpoint, Protoss and Terran definitely dictate the pace of a match if they can. Whereas Zerg is more reactionary. And when we talk about the Zerg, I'll go ahead and give you some pointers on that. But with Protoss, it is literally just, okay, what build order, what units do I want to build? How much do they cost? How long do they take to build? How much do I need to have coming in per game minute? For Colossus, it's 75 in-game seconds, so it's a little over a minute. So for you to be able to produce off of one robo facility, 1 Colossus per game minute, you need to have at least 300 minerals, 200 gas income, and be able to not get supply blocked at 6 supply. For Protoss, this isn't a big issue because you'll usually see pylons go everywhere. This particular player did not place a whole lot of pylons out on the map because I was containing him very, very aggressively. And then all you have to really do is look, how long does it take to do something? How much does it cost? Upgrades you don't really have to plan for. Upgrades are more of the do I have the minerals available? Are all of my facilities producing? Okay, buy the upgrade. So what you'll want to look out for is when it comes to upgrade timing, and I can discuss this more in depth in a different video, but basics is when it's time to get upgrades is going to be, am I producing everything? Like, are all of my production facilities producing? Do I have a bank? Do I have enough to purchase this upgrade or these upgrades? Do I need them? Am I building an army that can use those upgrades? If the answers to all of those questions are yes, then you buy your upgrades. It's quite simple. 3 things you gotta know. Do I have enough to afford? Am I already producing army out of all of my production facilities? And will the upgrades actually help me? If all 3 of these are yes, get the upgrade. If any one of these is no, then you need to go and start thinking a little more advanced about whether or not you need to get the upgrade. So, in another video, I will talk about, upgrade choosings. It'll be a little minute, like 5-minute video that I just throw on YouTube directly. I want to actually stream it live like I am this one. We'll talk about to upgrade or not to upgrade. That is the question. You know what, that's what I'm going to title it. To upgrade or not to upgrade. That is the question. So, going back into the game here. A couple other things about macro. Don't waste your money on buildings that you're not going to use. So, for instance, boom! 3 forges from Protoss. Not a smart idea. Don't do that. Don't do that. There's a good reason behind this. The Protoss upgrades are... And he's already maxed out on upgrades. Stand by, let me rewind it. So the 3 upgrades are weapons, armor, and shields. This upgrade right here is probably the weakest out of all 3 upgrades. If a Protoss player actually gets shields, it's because their armor and weapons have already been upgraded to the max. If they're going air on the Cybernetics core, which is where all the upgrades are for there, if they're going air, Void Rays, and they're sticking with Void Rays, that's going to be the building that's producing the upgrades. Once again, you should not see a Protoss player picking up the shield upgrades until after they have weapons and armor. Now, some of you might say, Threxor, why would you say this? Don't shields regenerate? Doesn't it give you more money for the run? Yeah, the problem is the shields on the units are so small. Most of the time, short of buildings, I mean, buildings are, they're a 1-to-1 per point of health they have 1 point of shield. But on the units, the shields are so counterintuitive. For example, Zealots. Zealots have 100 health and 50 shields. The shields are going to get burnt through quickly. Even if you have the shields upgraded, they're going to get burnt through really, really fast. And then you're going to have to rely on their armor. So, armor first. Shields are nice. Shields are good. But armor first, weapons first. Usually the particular order is going to be weapons first, then armor on each level. And then after you have all of those, shields. So there's not much else to say about Protoss macro. The number of bases that you're going to get are going to be determined by what kind of unit composition you're going for, whether or not you are going to be getting very, very fast and early tech, and just sort of are you planning on going to a later game? If you want a fast game, you're going to stay on one base. You're going to try and rush your opponent or do some sort of timing push where you catch your opponent at their weakest position and crush them within the first few minutes of the game. And by few minutes, I mean anything less than 15. If you're purposefully trying to push past the 10-minute mark, if you're trying to play a macro-oriented game, then you're going to get more expansions early on. So you're going to get your natural way sooner. You might even get your natural before you even build a single attacking unit. With the Protoss and the Terran, I stated it before, I'm going to restate it because it's really important. Your build order dictates the number of bases you have. With Zerg, it's a little bit different, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So, I'm going to take this moment. I'm going to load up another game. And I hope that I don't crash. It's an old game. It's from the last patch. Boom. Kerrigan. Yes. It'll get here eventually. It'll catch up with us. So Terran's going to go by really, really quick because we're going to talk about... Whoa, hello. Okay, I guess I got to re-authenticate. You are so fired, Blizzard. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. I hate it when I do that. Okay, so I'm going to throw up the still. And I'm going to put on some music and mute my microphone as I run and grab my authenticator. How is that for timing? Okay, now that I'm done being a big dummy. So I'm trying out the new beta authentic, the Mondo authenticator from, yeah. I'm trying out the new Mondo authenticator from Blizzard, and it doesn't quite catch when you load an old replay and then come back in. So, this particular game, we're going to be looking at Terran, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the things to look at for your early scout. That is a scout that comes in from the 3 to 4 minute mark. So jumping right into the game, and speeding things along. Now, unlike Protoss, the Terran do not rely on gas early game as much. So, with Terran, one of their most powerful units is one of their first units, and that would be this wonderful guy right here, who you can't see. So I'm going to do that so you can see. It says Terran Marine. Terran Marines are broken. I'll just say it right now. It's a small unit, it's a cheap unit, and it's a very powerful unit when you get enough of them. So the Terran won't really focus on gas too early unless they are going for a specific gas type build. If you're going for an early stim pack, if you're going for early Reapers, you'll see a geyser go down really early. If you're going for Marine Marauder Medevac, you'll see a geyser early. If you're going for any air tech, you'll see a geyser early. Oh, really? I totally updated that. Hold on. I can fix this. I can fix this. I'll probably break my stuff. But anyways, while I am I'm losing my mind. Huh. That's funny. Macro basics, yeah. Oh. Yeah, mine shows right. Weird. Okay. So, looking at Terran, the gases are going to come a lot later. We're looking at more of a 6-7 minute gas timing if a player is going with a lot of Marines to start out with, as compared to the early, like 13 to 14 workers early type gas timings that you'll see out of a lot of players for Protoss. Now, another thing, if you're playing Terran and you're playing Terran effectively, don't be deceived by this number right here. You can have it a little low and still keep up if you have enough orbital commands. If you put this number at 18, or if you put it at this is really late in the game. I don't know what I'm doing. Or if you put it at 16 to 18. Oh wow, that's really slow. When you have mineral patches stacked up, these mules will more than compensate for any lack of SCVs you might have. You get an orbital command, you get mules on the field, your macro is just gonna crush people. So things that Terran like to do that's similar to Protoss. They like to stay on 2 bases early on, or even 1 base. Terran right now is probably the most macro efficient race right now, so they can do the most amount of damage with the least amount of resources, and it is all because of your barracks units. Marines and Marauders just do a sick amount of damage, and they don't cost a whole lot. Like a Marauder is the same cost as a Stalker, I want to say. It's really, really close. I think a Stalker is 125 minerals and 50 gas, and a Marauder is only 125. So Marines and Marauders are just they're really powerful units. They're very underrated, some people will say. Yes, they die very, very quickly to splash damage, so Bioforce going up against tanks, Bioforce going up against Colossus tend to get shredded pretty easily, but when a Terran player has, 10 to 12 racks all producing the units that they need to at a time, it's very easy for a Terran player to reconstruct their army after it's been completely decimated. Onoto in chat has been helping me out with my Terran stuff. I've been picking his mind, asking him questions as I can get time to sit down and talk with him. He says the 18's pretty good on your command centers, and that a mule is about equal to 4 workers for the amount that it can bring in. So, thank you for that, Onoto. Appreciate it, as always. Still learning Terran. They're probably going to be the last race that I actually sit down and learn, because they're the ones that I like the least. And it's nothing against, people that play Terran. It's just, I'm not a big Terran fan. I like the Protoss and Zerg a little bit better. Why play... I mean, seriously. Why play a fantasy-based RP, or fantasy-based RTS, sci-fi-based RTS, and play the human race? I mean, who does that? Who does that? Anyways, getting back into this before I get distracted again. Let's see. So yeah, 18 workers is good. The mules definitely can take a Terran player and Mules can definitely take a Terran player and get them caught up if they're behind. Like, let's say that a really early worker harass comes in and is extremely effective, kills off like almost all of his workers that are on the mineral line. Mules definitely fill that gap. They are, holy crap, are they good for keeping Terran on their feet whenever they're taking lots of heavy harass really often, I should say. Another thing that Terran has advantage on, building command centers on high ground and then just flying them down. It's very convenient. You don't have to defend your command center until it's actually, being used. You don't have to defend it while it's being constructed like Protoss and Zerg do. So you can just build it up here. They can like spot for you off of some cliffs, give you a little bit of vision out there, and when you're ready to go, you just pick it up and drop it off and call it good. It takes a little bit more time, but if you're definitely trying to play for a longer game, and you're very trying to be very cautious about what you do, putting it on the high ground, then flying it down. I mean, you can even convert it into an orbital command if your natural is being constantly threatened, and there's no way that you have the army to break out of it yet. And you have no way to break out of it yet. You can put it on the high ground, turn it into an orbital command, use the mules to keep boosting your economy off of your main base, and then just move it down to the natural when you're ready for it. When you actually have an army on the field that you can defend your natural with, you can just park them down there. So, Terran, extremely versatile. A Terran player will usually only get gas as they need it. They won't try and preemptively get gas unless they are specifically going for a build that requires a lot of gas, and they know going in that they're going to be spending gas as fast as they can mine it. So gas timings on Terran, if you're scouting a Terran player and you see early geysers, you know that they're going for some sort of early tech, whether it's Vikings, siege tanks, Marine Marauder Medevac with stim and combat shields and all that fun stuff. That first gas timing might also tell you if you have Reapers on the way or Ghosts. Definitely something to keep an eye out for. So if you are a Protoss or a Zerg player or even another Terran player, and you come in here and you see one of the two geysers in the main taken at the 3 or 4 minute mark, and it's being mined quite rapidly, expect to see something come down. If you see the second one come down as well, then you know that they're going for something that's even more gas restrictive. So when you're fighting against Terran, usually the thing to keep an eye out for is what kind of production facilities do they have out? So that'll tell you what kind of unit choice or unit options that they have. And then, look at the gas. If they don't have any sort of buildings constructed yet, if they don't have any protection facilities out, and you see lots of early gas, you can kind of limit down what they are going to be producing. They're going to be producing lots of gas-heavy units or just a few of really expensive gas-heavy units. So with Terran, that's the thing to keep an eye out for. Anoto's point out something else to me in chat. The first one goes down pretty consistently, pretty early, just as the first barracks is going down as well. And then the second one won't come until later unless he's playing more aggressively. I'm sorry, not aggressively, but macroing for gas more aggressively. So that's early game Terran. As they transition into, here we go, words, English, yay. As they transition into their mid and late games, you'll see them, every base that they get, they'll want to get those geysers going as soon as possible. But, what race doesn't? Oh boy. So yeah, you'll see here, actually this might be a perfect example. So you'll see I'll come in with these mutas, I'll kill off a few workers, and he'll be able to just replenish them straight up. As, yeah, if any of them get killed, he can just straight up replenish them like it's nothing. Yeah, that was not a very effective harass on my part. I totally lost this one, by the way. Come on. There's mules. See? So a couple of workers killed off, dropped the mules. No harm, no foul. Lots of minerals, lots of minerals, lots of minerals. So that's about all I have to say on the Terran side of the house. So we're going to use the same map, and we're going to look at Zerg. I'm just going to restart this replay. Now, Zerg, I can talk about Zerg macro all day. So I'm going to give you the gist. There's a few key rules that you want to keep in mind as Zerg. Your first hatch timing is going to be the one that dictates what kind of game you're going for. And when I say timing on the hatch, I mean there's three big options. There is hatch first, where you produce about 11 drones, 12 drones, somewhere in there, and then you just save up a lot of money, drop the first hatch. The second one is 12 or 13 spawning pool, and then you drop your first hatch. Like, as soon as the spawning pool goes down, you build your first hatch, or your natural hatch. And then the third one is a spawning pool into a gas, into a 21 to 23 drone count natural hatch. So those three different types of hatch timings will dictate a different style of play from you. The first one that I mentioned, which is hatch first, says I'm playing a macro-oriented game. I'm going to build just enough units to defend against any sort of early harass that you might have, but I want this to go past the 7-minute mark. The second option, where you get the spawning pool up first, and then you get your hatchery right after that, says, I'm going to be playing some sort of aggressive style, because I'm getting tons of production up really, really fast. The third option says, hi, I'm going to try and blow your door down and end this game at the 7-minute mark, but I have a backup plan just in case. So the one that we're going to see here in this particular game is going to be gas first, then pool, then hatchery. So that's the first part. That's rule number one about Zerg macro, is the timing of your natural hatch determines what you as a Zerg player are hoping to do with that game overall. The second big rule for Zerg when it comes to macro, unless you are playing another Zerg player, you will always want to have you will always want to have at least one more base than your opponent does at all times. So if you're playing against Protoss and the Protoss is going Forge Fast Expand, and you scout that his expansion's down, you need to be planting your third. Unlike Protoss and Terran, when it comes to army production, the Zerg's army production and unit production all comes from the hatchery. So the way you play Zerg is going to be drastically different compared to the way that you play Terran and Protoss. Okay, so we're going to jump into this game here. Now I'm going to start this up. And I'm going to let this play through at normal speed, and I'm going to continue talking about this particular build style. So when it comes to... Oh, why do I have that there? Why is that there? Why is that there? Oops. Why are you there? Why are you there? Go away. There we go. Okay, so when it comes to Zerg, usual timings, depending on how you're playing Zerg, you're going to build up to 9 drones, then you're going to make an Overlord, Then you're going to make another drone. When the Overlord pops, you should have just enough minerals to make 2 more. That'll put you up to 12. This is when you make your decision. When you are at 12 and you go to build that 13th drone, this is when your decision has to be made. For a standard, not even standard, for a common Zerg player, the 13th drone is when the decision for how you play has to be made. In this particular case, I'm going pool first, or extractor first, gas first. So I'm going gas first, and then I'm going to plant down a pool. Right about, wait for it, now. Then I'm going to plant a pool. This says I'm going for speed lanes. Straight up. If you see, if you're scouting a Zerg player and you see gas, then hatch, or gas then pool, you're going to have speed Zerglings on the map very, very rapidly. This is the only time that I've seen a Zerg player do this. Ever. And I know this because I do it all the time. This kind of a play says I'm going to try and be aggressive. I'm going to try and like either harass you, or in this case, I'm going to try and break down your wall and end the game very, very early on. But depending on when you get the natural, which should be anywhere between 21 and 23, depending on whether or not you build 4 Zerglings to just go park outside your opponent's ramp, which I will talk about that when I talk about scouting on probably tomorrow. I'll probably talk about Zerg scouting tomorrow. We'll just go with it. I'll talk about Zerg scouting tomorrow. So as you can see, speed is coming down for Zerglings. Drones are continuing to be produced. The queens come out as soon as possible. Queens for Zerg are probably one of the most underrated units in the game. In regards to defensive units. So, queen timings, which is, I'll actually talk about it here, it applies. Queen timings for Zerg. Getting up to 4 queens early on, perfectly fine. The minerals are invested, but it's a long-term investment. It's a macro investment. Queens tend to serve really good roles. So for anti-air, if you see queens, or I'm sorry, not if you see queens, but if you see that a Terran player is going for Banshees, or if you see a Protoss player going for air, queens are very, very effective at shutting down harassment. Holy cow, are they effective for shutting down harassment. If you see Banshees, I would get the Spore Crawler. I would just plant a single Spore Crawler, because their view distance, Day9 talked about this, their view distance is way farther than their actual attack radius. But you can use your queens to move out and engage those units way further than the Spore Crawler can. The other nice part about queens, Transfuse. Transfuse is an underused ability. You usually only see it on pro games if you are playing Bronze, Silver, Gold League type level of play. Transfuse is underused, especially in the early games. You get 2 queens out, you have doubled their life expectancy, because you can transfuse them back and forth. It is very micro intensive to use transfuse, but it is so easy to get ahead if you can use early queens to defend your bases, to get your tech out, or to get your macro rolling. Okay, so we're going to keep talking about this here. So going back into the game, you'll actually see at the 21 count for supply, this drone's already waiting. I'm just waiting for the minerals. As soon as I get the minerals, I have a hatch coming down. Now, with that being said, if you look in the production tab, I don't stop producing drones just to plant my expansion. And plop. There you go. Another thing to note. Zerg cost for expansions, way cheaper. For Terran and Protoss, it's 400 minerals to build a command center. For Zerg, a hatchery is only 300. I always feel like I have to prove. Every time I say something, I'm like, no, seriously, guys, I know what I'm talking about. See? The tooltip says so. So, Zerg can get a lot of bases up really, really fast. They're really cheap. They build the same amount of time. It's 100 seconds for each. But they're really, really cost effective. You can also, while they're morphing, you can just cancel the building, get some of the cost back. The drone comes back. You don't lose it just because you've decided that you wanted to turn it into a building. If the building completes, then yeah, of course you've lost it. But just saying, okay, go build me a building, drone, doesn't mean that drone's gone forever. If you decide to change your mind, you can cancel it, move your drone somewhere else. So speed's out for me right now. I only have the one Vespene Geyser. Still. Baneling Nest is coming down really, really soon here. You'll see me go ahead and grab this second Vespene Geyser because Banelings are a bit expensive. Especially if you go to Lair and try to upgrade them afterwards. You see a second Queen coming down. This particular game I wasn't too strong on the macro portion of it. So this is Neoplanet S. Yeah, this is Neoplanet S. This map is not currently in the map pool. But for Zerg, the way you get expansions on this map is pretty straightforward. So if you spawn in the top right like I have here, you start with your main, your natural is just outside your ramp, duh. Your third is probably going to be right around this corner here, down here. The reason I say that is because, yeah, it's around this big corner right here. Like, this is a big corner. For units to get from this hatch down to this hatch is this massive corner that they have to run around, and then all the way down. But with the way the attack paths are set, units coming around this corner can all be rallied like right here. You can rally your units right here, and it's effective. It's very easy to, with good creep spread, to defend from this third base here, which will help you defend this alley, which goes all the way down and around to your opponent's backside here. And then jumping back, good creep spread will allow you to move all the way up here to where I recommend you grab your fourth from. So on this particular map, Zerg go 1, 2, 3, and then all the way back for 4. Most of the other races that I've seen, like Terran, will go 1, 2, and then come back for 3, because they'll have like drop ships, or they'll have like a big massive army that just wants to walk back and forth in this little narrow passageway here. Actually, I'm going to do this. They want to walk back and forth in this narrow passageway here because they have armies that require, they're a little bit slower to move. Zerg, with good creep spread, can cover much larger areas at the same time. So they'll go for the long lines so they can use their hatcheries to help push their creep forward. Creep spread, whole different topic. We're going to talk about creep spread lumped in with something that's short as well. That I'm not even going to touch that now. So, going back to the basics, a couple things to look out for. Your first your natural hatch timing dictates how you want to play the game, how you want to respond. Second, your gas timings are going to be even more reactive than Terran gas timings are. So Protoss likes to get gas and hoard it early because pretty much every unit besides the Zealot is a gas hungry unit. They love, like, Protoss loves just powering through gas. Protoss, I don't know how you guys play it very effectively. You just chew through too much gas for my tastes. Terrans, you need a little bit of pre-planning before you can get your gases up and then start farming from them. Zerg, all the gas units are really, really cheap gas units, like all units from Zerg are. So you don't really have to get your gas until you know, okay, I'm going to be building Mutalisks. I lay down the spire, now I get all of the stuff that I need. So it's lay down the spire, put down 4 Vespene geysers at the same time, use your full inject cycle to just build drones to man those geysers. By the time the geysers and the drones are done, the spire's halfway done, you put them all into gas, you have just enough gas for your next larval cycle to build all the mutas that you want in the world. I mean, that is straight up how reactive Zerg is. So, gas timings from Zerg, early on, if you see the early geyser, it's because they are going to be using the gas right away. Perfect example is the 13 gas, 13 pool, 14 gas, 14 pool type of timing from Zerg is designed so that as soon as the pool finishes, you have exactly 250 minerals, 100 gas, so that you can start a queen and Zergling speed at the exact same time and drop your minerals all the way back down, or drop your resources all the way back down to 0 to get farmed back up again. At that point, you can take workers out of gas, go use them somewhere else, or if you're like me, I know I'm going to be transitioning. I never depend on my 7-minute Baneling bust to really work. So I use it just to kind of throw my opponent off balance a little bit, and then I go down some other sort of tech choice that requires gas. So that's the first point. Gas, reactive. Zerg race, reactive. Hatch, first, your natural hatch timing will dictate how you respond in the game. It doesn't dictate the pace of the game. It just says this Zerg player is going to react with units and army to stretch out and build a macro game up. Pool first means this player wants to end it fast. Gas pool first means this player is doing something a little bit crazy. I'm going to see a lot of aggression. He might try and end it quickly. He might try and push it on. Last big rule. Third big rule. Always stay, with the exception of if it's a ZVZ, always stay 1 base ahead of your opponent. If you are if you're in a position where you know that you can defend what you've got, and you can defend a little bit more out, and your creep spread's really, really good, go ahead and plant down a third. If you know that your opponent's about to get his natural from Terran, plant your third. If you know if both of you are going to macro heavy game, stay that 1 base ahead. It serves 2 purposes. First, hey, you've got another base that you can fully saturate. Second, hey, you've got another hatchery, you can actually build more army faster. With that being said, there's a small little thing about Zerg called the macro hatch. That is another unique thing separate from Terran and Protoss that Terran and Protoss don't have to worry about. So a macro hatch states, I am building cheap units in mass quantities. Or it states, I have all three of my main bases up in mining. I am now going to need 4 bases worth of production in order to crush my opponent, but I don't want to commit that much to drones. So macro hatch is very, very simple. A macro hatch, for those of you that don't know, is just a hatch that goes right next to like your main base hatch or your natural hatch or your third base hatch. That is not the one that is being used to harvest resources. That's all a macro hatch is. That hatch is specifically for producing units. That being said, still needs to be staffed by a queen appropriately. So if you have 4 queens early game when you only have 1 base, and you go and you pick up base 2 and 3, and you build a macro hatch, you're still good. You still have invested money in queens that isn't going to waste because they're just sitting around spreading creep. So when I talk about creep spread, we're going to talk about queens a little bit more. When I talk about scouting, we're going to talk about creep a little bit more. So I think tomorrow's episode is going to be about scouting for Zerg. How does a Zerg scout? What can a Zerg assume when they scout? And then that'll lead into how does that affect my queen count, my creep spread. So that'll be tomorrow. I've decided. That's tomorrow. So to wrap today's episode up, we talked about Protoss and Terran, which have very, very similar macro type of builds. We said that Terran and Protoss tend to dictate the pace of the game, especially macro type games. Terran or Protoss, especially going up against a Zerg. If a Terran and Protoss goes for early expansions, then you're going to be seeing things come out like you're going to see Sky Toss. You're going to see stuff come out of Stargates. If a Terran player does it, you're going to see larger units or just more massed up units. You'll just see larger armies, a little more passive style play. If a Zerg builds a natural, goes for that second base early on, you're just playing against a Zerg player. So you can't really make a determination with your scouts as the other races when you go up against Zerg based off of whether or not they have a macro or whether or not they have their natural hatch down. Some other things that we talked about: gas timings. Protoss tend to like to get their gas early on. They like to get that first and the second geyser like right away. A lot of all of their units beyond the Zealot are extremely gas intensive. The caster units even more so. If memory serves, I want to say that sentries are like 50 minerals and a whole bunch of gas. Why would you not tell me how much it costs, game? But I believe that they're 50 minerals and like 150 gas or 200 gas or something ridiculous like that. It might be as low as 125, but I would not say that it's 100. So Protoss units, anything beyond Zealots and Stalkers, are extremely gas intensive, really, really expensive. Terran units, not so much. There's a few Terran units that are out there, like Marauders are only 50 gas, 100 minerals, 50 gas. So you'll see Terran kind of have the balanced approach when it comes to getting their gases. They'll get the gases preemptively when they know that they're about to need them. You kind of have to think a couple of steps ahead with Terran. With Protoss, like from the beginning of the game, like when the 6 workers start moving, that's when you have to decide what kind of a game am I playing, save for anything that happens in the match itself. With Terran, you have a little bit of leeway. You can wait until you see what time the scout comes in before you start really making tech choices. With Zerg, you can almost always just plant down your hatchery first, and then wait for your scouting information to come in before you actually start producing any buildings. So that's the whole gas timing portion of it. When we talked about the Zerg, we mentioned that they're very reactive. You will get you'll be reactive. So you'll see a unit composition come out, and then you go, oh, I need to build Mutalisks. Mutalisks counter this, and this will be a nice addition to my Zergling army, because Zergling Muta is really, really strong right now. So you get your Spire, and then you build your Spire, and you go, wait a minute, I've only got 1 gas geyser, and I got 3 bases. Mutas are gas heavy. I should probably get my geysers. So you build your geysers, and then you go, oh man, I am like perfectly set up for drones right now, but when these geysers finish, I'm gonna need drones. So this whole larval cycle, I'm just gonna build drones. And then you build the drones, you put them into gas. By the time the Spire pops, you're like, hey, look, I've got enough for mutas. And you build your mutas and you move on with life. So, with that being said, it's macro, a very, very dumbed down version of macro. Some basic things that you can look out for, some basic things that you need to watch out for, and some anecdotes if you're anecdotes if you are playing any of the particular races and you just want something to repeat over and over in your head. Like for Zerg, since I play Zerg, the big thing that I always say is must be one base ahead, must be one base ahead, must be one base ahead. If I see that I am on 2 bases, I don't have any plans for a third yet, and my opponent has 3 bases, I know that I've pretty much lost that match. There's no way that my production can keep up with a 3-basing Terran player. Because at that point, the Terran player already has all their production facilities built. Whereas I would have to wait for mine to build, and then I'd have to wait to get all of the actual income for it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I am going to mention that the Among the Shadows tournament is next Saturday at the same time that my broadcast is. So I will be broadcasting for that instead of this. I'll probably do some pregame stuff while we power through the first bracket. And just because I'm awesome like that, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go back to the still. I'm gonna go back to the. I'm gonna change the page here. I'm gonna pull this up. Bam! Look at that. Starting lineup. Bam. So if you want to participate, go to amongshadows.com. Right there. Right there. And I'll put it in the link on YouTube for anybody that's watching this later. You go to tournaments, you just hover over it. Tournament entry form if you would like to play. It is for gold and platinum players only. So I assume you guys know how this goes, and you're probably not watching my stream anyways. If you'd like to watch the tournament and any of the games that I cast, if you are looking to want to cast the games yourself, you can go straight back to this webpage. Where'd it go? Oh goodness. Oh goodness. You can go back to this webpage, go to the tournaments tab, go to caster entry form, fill out that form, fill out the form. The admin of the tournament will look at it. He will look to see what you've done. If he likes it, he will sign you up for it. I will probably be contacting you shortly thereafter to coordinate so that we can dual cast it. Otherwise, if you just want to hang out and watch and talk in chat, it will be up here on twitch.tv/Threxor next Saturday, same time. And I'll update and I'll Twitter and I'll broadcast. So if you're a gold platinum player, just happen to be strolling by, want to play, go sign up. If you are not a gold platinum player and you want to check it out, just come back, visit here. If you want to get into casting and you'd like to co-cast against me, with me, not against me, with me, you can go in and sign up to be a caster and you'll get added and it'll be a good time. I casted with Dave Sprite last time. He's participating in this tournament. So I will not be able to co-cast with him, and we actually had a blast. It was a good time. It was a Bronze League tournament. It was pretty funny. You cannot catch those VODs anymore. It was right after Twitch had changed the procedures for how it all worked. And now they're gone. The live stream is gone forever. But that's okay. I was having issues. I'm not having any issues this time, so we're good to go. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Yeah, twitter.com/Threxor. You can find me on the Day 9 forums as Threxor. You can find me on battle.net as Threxor433. 433. That's 433. On the North America servers. Just send me a message. You know, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty relaxed. I don't mind talking to people. And of course, you can find me here. That being said, there is another tournament going down. Whoa. The Day-Night Tournament League, Season 1. This is the sign-ups on the forums. You can also go find the... somewhere on the forums you can find the actual, like, breakdowns for the ladders. I know it's in here somewhere. Season 1 signups. Nope, that's not it. It's got to be here. Wrong one. Day-Night Tournament League, Season 1 signups. Okay, the forum post has been lost. I'll find it and I'll put a link to it. But yeah, go check that out. Don't forget to follow WCS Season 3. It's going on now. Well, now. Grand finals are going to be at BlizzCon. I haven't figured out if Blizzard's going to roll the Season 3 finals in with the grand finals for the whole series at BlizzCon, or if they're going to do Season 3 and then take all the results and all the points and take that bracket and put them into BlizzCon. I haven't looked at the schedule close enough yet for that, but that's battle.net/WCS or WCS.battle.net, or you can Google WCS.battle.net and it'll give you a link. So with that being said, tomorrow's show is going to be on, oh boy, Zerg scouting, Zerg early game scouting. That's going to include overlords. That's going to include your drone timing. Then we're going to talk about creep spread and queen usage, and that should take up a full hour. So with that being said, I'm at the hour and 15-minute mark. I'm going to go ahead and end the cast now. So thank you all for watching. Thank you, Onoto, for poking in and giving me something to talk about here, and also giving me some answers about Terran stuff that I'm not very particularly comfortable with. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to watch any of my other videos that are out there. I'm going to attempt to increase the frequency at which I record YouTube videos so that there are more here for your enjoyment. That being said, my name is Threxor. Thank you for watching, and I hope to